Stripling and Etruscan, addicts of drugs not yet synthesized, black marketeers of World War III, excisers of telepathic sensitivity, osteopaths of spirit, investigators of infractions denounced by bland paranoid chess players.
What is going on, my freaks, geeks, and free thinkers? This is Mike Romanelli with the Freethinkers Society. I think we're at episode 56, right, Clint?
55.
55. Oh, why? Because, yeah, we're all right. 55. Sorry about that. Got confused. Our guest for the day was whatever. Doesn't matter. It's in the past. But here we are, Clint and I, and we're gonna pipe one of our friends in a little bit. Yeah, man. So shit's crazy, huh? I mean, I was asking you before we recorded if you happened to see last night Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, and Alex Jones and Mike Malice all together. I mean, there's other people there too, but those are the guys I was familiar with. All in an RV, like an emergency type podcast live. It's like 150,000 people watching it too.
Live?
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
Where was the bus parked? Did they not?
They didn't
put
say,
that
but
out?
I think it was. I would say Austin because you got Alex Jones. I know Mike Malice left Compound and moved to Austin, right? And Rogan. So it seems like they're probably in Austin.
Malice was on Compound Media?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had a great show on there for years.
Huh.
He just recently left to go to Austin. And it was pretty. It was cool, man. Like Rogan opened up a lot of people's eyes, right? Years ago, he used to question a lot of things, and then he kind of pulled it back, right? It was more like Eddie Bravo would be the one, and sometimes they'd almost ridicule him and it seemed a little manufactured, or it seemed like he just backed off or something happened, and it's like as soon as they started doing the shit with CNN, or CNN went after him, and I mean really fucked with him a lot. It's like the gloves came off. And I don't blame him. That's good. It shows that he's just saying fuck this and going and pushing back. It was. I have to say, man. I know I bring up Alex Jones here a lot, but I have to say, they were having some really good points, and then all of a sudden he would throw in craziness to kind of throw it off the rails. And Tim Pool got really pissed off at one point. And I can almost see how people say he's a misinformation or there to make everyone sound crazy. It's like almost like you watched it happen.
Like they were on too good of a track, and then he'd like throw some kind of like monkey wrench.
Well, Tim's like, you're yelling child rapist right now. Like where he got mad. He's like, this is how we're gonna get in trouble with YouTube. Like this is how. Like why are you just screaming that into the mic right now? And it's like, I'm sure that guy's not stupid. In his mind, I'm sure he's had that thought because that's what people say about him, right?
Right.
They say that he's there to make free thinkers look crazy. Or to and he's been right about so much shit, but it was like yesterday seemed like such a serious podcast that he kept throwing that in. He was so off the rails, crazy. I mean, I think he was on something. He was nuts last night. I don't know if he was just like hamming it up for Joe. I don't know what was going on, but it was weird because you could see. I really got that last night. Like, okay, I could see what's going on here. Like he is trying to make this thing crazy, or maybe get the podcast, censored or something. I mean, it was live, so it's a little, I think it's harder for them to pull it down while it's happening.
Right. It's not really, because I've done, I did a Supercross companion, and I honestly didn't even think about it, but it was a Supercross live on TV that you had, and I had the app, and we were watching it live on YouTube. So it was like that, and then I think we were sitting in the corner, like I had us like in the corner of the screen. Yeah. But the race was going on, and they clipped us. Because all of a sudden I started getting messages, what happened to the feed? And I was like, oh, shit, that was totally copyright infringement.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you ever see that when they scammed the UFC for one time, it was this kid on Twitch pretending he was the game?
Yeah, he just sat there playing the whole time.
He's playing. They've really come down on that. It used to be so easy to find the fights online now. It's so much harder.
Well, and they have I don't know if people are searching, because that's what somebody kept going, because it said whatever Supercross on it. And somebody's like, don't name it that. He's like,
true.
they'll find it.
That's definitely true. Like, I listen to a lot of live music online, like when the band's playing. Mm-hmm. And
do you love freedom? Do you love being clean? Then you'll love Hero Soap Company, made in the USA. Chemical and fragrance free. A portion of each purchase donated to veteran and first responder charities. Initial subscription purchase is matched bar for bar and sent overseas to deploy troops. Let freedom clean. Hero Soap Company.
You never look for the band's name.
Yeah.
You look for something that would be like that you would, maybe a song or some reference from the band, and then that's how you'll find it. Or maybe the person's channel will have a name that's, you're like, oh, that's probably somebody that likes that band. But yeah, if they just write XYZ's concert, it always gets taken down right away.
Yeah. Too easy.
Way too easy. And it's probably like AI and bots, which kind of goes into what we were talking about before, man. So I was doing a bunch of research for this guest we had, and maybe we'll have him on another time. But and I haven't not that I haven't researched in a while, but I used to just go down rabbit holes like crazy, and I don't do it as often. Now it's like I hear through our friends or through podcasts or something, and then it's like, but why am I bringing that up is I noticed that the internet is fucking changed, man. The internet has changed so much. Now we know something as simple as YouTube, right? There used to be a ton of docs and documentaries and all kinds of information, and it's not that it's not there, because there's definitely some shit there still, but it's just different, right? Same with research. There used to be a lot of shit. You just go online and there would be message boards or people talking about any type of crazy topic, whether it was like sun gazing or whatever. There's different remedies for things that I know got pulled down. But the internet is just, you were saying you were going into it, you were like, you think it was a bot, right? Whatever you were telling me.
Yeah, my friend on Facebook wrote me after like a really long time, and then which I think they are religious, but they went to this whole thing about religion, and then they were like Jesus bless them, and then they were like, oh, and the government gave me $100,000, you could get it too. And I'm like, bro, this is definitely not a real person.
So they say that the internet is just tons and tons of bots, that most people are arguing with that. And I just think that, and I know there's probably experts on it, but that whole dead internet theory, there's definitely something to that. There's definitely something to that, because the internet has changed a lot as far as just researching, right? And then you want to talk about interacting. And then if you really take it a little further and you really think about it, it's such an easy way to fuck with a country you don't like or you just want to mess with, is just have them all argue with each other, when you could just have these fake accounts. You know what gets them going, right? And there's definitely something to it, man, because even like Reddit conspiracy, right? Reddit conspiracy, that page has changed a lot. That was a great place just to like see what's going on in the world of conspiracy, and you can see like the agendas that are pushed.
Oh
yeah, and the like you were saying, the bots are the comments, or just the shit to get people going. I'm wondering if they use that to misinformation. I'm sure they have to, right? To like,
yeah, of course,
misinform the people that are free thinking.
Well, you constantly see that they at least, well, for sure, you see all those posts that are all the same. Sam posts them up all the time, and it's always like to either my cousin, died from COVID or whatever, to like kind of put that in your head, or it's like, I don't know. It's usually something like that. They're all like, I wish. And it's the same, exactly
the
same worded sentence.
Yeah.
And they're just sowing, you know what I mean? Like distrust or whatever.
Well, what I'm saying is I wonder if it works the other way. It has to, right?
What do you mean?
Where everyone is talking about, like right now, the big conspiracy everyone's talking about is smallpox, right? Everyone is saying how small. I mean, I didn't
hear this.
Yeah. So in all the conspiracy,
smallpox is a conspiracy now.
Well, it's not as a conspiracy, but in the conspiracy communities, it's bubble. And the way why I'm using this as an example is because it's really bubbled up in a way that almost seems manufactured. Started a couple weeks ago, maybe even more than that. But where people were saying, oh, the real pandemic is going to be when smallpox gets out. I started doing a little research about it, and this is kind of interesting. You start researching smallpox just on the mainstream web, and almost all of them talk about how a drug was developed recently for it and how it's been eradicated. However, it's not ruled out that it could be used as a bioterror weapon. Why the fuck is that on all these web MDs and stuff? Very odd. And it's the same fucking thing.
And why did they make a pill?
Yeah, and why recently, right? So that is kind of weird. But just to play devil's advocate, if it's somebody just fucking with fear or whatever, it is strange that it's been talked about in all these different forms. And it almost does look like it's like pushed out there to get everyone freaked out.
Ready for it.
I even saw something today saying that by Philadelphia, they found 4 vials of smallpox. I didn't look much further, but that was in the forum.
Where do you find smallpox?
It was in vials.
I know,
but
labeled,
labeled. So I know that's what I'm thinking. Like
labeled smallpox.
Yes. I know, man. I know. It's probably not funny if it actually is real, but it's you can't make.
If you're sneaking around vials of smallpox, do you write smallpox on it?
Well, okay. No,
Probably not.
No, but I think yeah. It's kind of like the passports that were just the only thing left from 9/11. They're just flying.
They're
like,
just
they're
sitting
right
there.
Oh my God, there's every person. Every other building is destroyed to dust, but there's we got like 5 passports in perfect condition.
How come no papers shot out of there, like tax papers? You know what I mean? From any of those businesses, they're like, oh, this is whoever's.
I know. I thought the same thing, but I think what they're trying to paint the narrative is that somebody smuggled it out of one of these labs. Which why the fuck are we fucking with smallpox in a lab when we have it eradicated? But
because you could use it as a bio weapon. We wouldn't do that, but we'd like to have it in case we needed to.
I wish the guest came on that we had scheduled, but doing some research
that sounds like a terrible thing anyway. Trying to kill another country with smallpox when we fly around the globe, like how is it not going to work its way?
Bioterrorism sounds like a horrible idea, but when the show was going to be on geoengineering and weather modification, and what I found from some of the research I did was that they have been experimenting on us because that's allowed. Like you're allowed to, like somewhere in that doc was saying that you're allowed to experiment on. You can't do it on your enemies, but you could do it on your own. Like what? What the fuck?
Well, what do you think? Like, I feel like the army is just that, like, guinea pig stuff. Because I even talked to my dad, and he said, like, when they first get there, he got, like, 16 shots or some shit, like, right in a row. Just boom, 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 boom. You don't know what that is. And then he talked to his other friend that was also in Vietnam, like, a little bit later, and he got different stuff. So why wouldn't we think that they were, they basically own these people. Those people signed their lives away, so they have a controlled group of people that they now can be like, oh, we gave these people this and we gave these people this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the first thing they're going to do is experiment on soldiers.
Which seems ridiculous.
I have a friend who died a horrible death from that, from like what they would call Gulf War syndrome. Like, right?
What is that?
I should probably look it up better, but it's basically he was in Iraq and some kind of chemical that all these soldiers were exposed to, and he died a horrible death. And it's like known, like, oh yeah, whatever it was that was exposed, and I should look it up so we have better idea of exactly what happened. But like what you're saying, it was some kind of it just happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
Even with the Agent Orange from Vietnam.
Well, that's my dad was actually in the worst sprayed region at the worst time.
Oh my God.
Of that whole scenario. So he's had a bunch of issues from that. I even got if you look it up, they'll show like skin, like rashes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point in my life, I got this rash like all over my back and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And obviously handed down. So
I mean that is so crazy to me that one that was like we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to just burn all their rainforest with Agent Orange. They said it's still in the soil there. There's still traces of it in the soil.
Yeah, so I started looking it up, and actually, and it might have been, no, I don't remember where it was, but I figured out what it was in them because we've always talked about it with my dad, and then I started looking into it, and they said there was some ridiculous rate of the locals being infertile or being born with like severe disformities and stuff right in that area. So you're like,
yeah, it's horrible, man. That is completely horrible. And, you know, you could say that that's what's happening right now with whatever experimental thing, you know. It's just crazy that we're allowed to do that to our citizens or to an enemy. It's just, I don't know, man. The world is fucking crazy right now. But I do have to say, I do think people are waking up. I think something like that even though on that podcast with Tim Pool and Alex Jones and everyone, they were saying that most of the people are not awake. I think that's bullshit. They kind of were contradicting themselves because they're saying that, but then they're also saying how CNN only gets like 100,000 or some really low number of viewers. Like, all right, well then, if you're saying that people are
right,
I think some of it is ignorance is bliss. That some people are opening up the door, and they're like, it's too scary. They close it, and it's like, fuck that, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's not pleasant to realize that all of our food's being poisoned and, like, you know, all the stuff that is going on. They're pushing this experimental, you know, program on everybody and locking you in your house, and you would really want to believe that all of this is on the up and up, and it's not like they're being tyrannical or whatever. But, you know, I think if you fully believe they're not, then you're kind of just sticking your head in the sand, you know?
Yeah, and I think some people do that. I think some people open their eyes a little bit, and they're like, life is too good.
I had an ex-girlfriend tell me that my point of view terrified her. And I go, it could be correct. You know?
Yeah, and I've met people like that too. That they don't want to talk about shit because they're like, what can I do about it? We can't do anything about it. And that is
but that's untrue.
That's a horrible way to look at things. I mean, especially if you have children or just want to have a live for, I don't know. I think things are coming to a head, man, and it's crazy because think about in Australia, right? Forever they were like, they took all the Australians' guns away. Well, look what's happening in Australia right now.
Yeah.
You know?
And
I mean,
I think that if you look up gun violence, honestly, there's still like the same amount of gun violence or something there. It's something ridiculous where you're like, how is that? But it's just the criminals still have guns.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Same thing with the whole Second Amendment, right? I think it's like a high majority of the crimes that are committed are with illegal firearms.
Yeah.
The criminal is going to get the weapon.
Right.
You know, but that is one thing about this country that is great, is that we are so armed. Not because, you know, because it definitely makes a polite society. Without a doubt.
100%.
Without a doubt. When you go to, at least you've traveled more than me, but when I've been to places like Arizona or Texas.
Wyoming.
Yeah, people act a little different. When you see, like, they literally walk around with guns on their hips. And you know, just around. Like, you just see it. And I feel like people have a different level of, there just is. It's just a little bit of a different.
Yeah, you don't start running your mouth to the guy in the truck next to you when you see he's got a shotgun hanging in the back window. Like,
yeah. And then, you know, same thing with, I feel like the government. But then again, doing the research that we did for today's show and seeing how easily it would be just to bombard us over our heads with spraying of some sort, like, then what does a gun even matter? Like, is it a false, you know?
Well, no. It basically, like, what are they going to do? Blanket the entire country at once and subdue everyone?
Maybe it is happening. Maybe it's happening already.
I mean, it's happening slowly, but there's still people that are aware enough, I think, to
Bottom line, you still want the guns. You still need the guns.
Yeah, exactly. You're still in a better position with guns if they're spraying stuff or not, you know?
And then, you know, I wonder, what do you think's going to happen with this whole trial at Rittenhouse?
I would hope that he gets off, but I think that they're going to, you know, somewhat mostly peacefully protest if he gets off. No, it's hilarious just watching the narratives on. The trial is on TV, and they're, like exposing stuff, improving stuff, and then people still get online and just say the same narrative. Even how about the one guy that got shot? I don't know what his name is. Said in his testimony under oath that he did not get shot until he pulled his gun out and advanced on Kyle. Then he went on CNN directly after and said, no, that wasn't true.
Dude,
so
a part of me, Clint, thinks that this whole thing is being done on purpose.
That's always what you say, though.
I know.
Which I know a lot of things
I mean,
can be, but it's hard if everything is.
Bro, the guys, the judge's ringtone really goes off, and it's "I'm proud to be American," like the same song. It's on Fox News all day long. Like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the judge to be proud of him being American, but come on, it's like literally everything is just it's like a bad fucking it's a bad.
So
TV
what
show,
do you
man.
think they set up? He's going to get off and start more riots? Is that the whole goal?
Yeah, I mean that's what it looks like, and it looks like. And I'm not saying that the guy shouldn't get off, but it just shows how stupid people are too, that they're acting like, I heard somebody say, or I read it somewhere, basically they believe that this guy shot some black protesters.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's footage of everything.
No, I know, but that's how much people just
That's
don't.
my point, is there's footage.
Of course, you can see the whole thing, but why is BLM there? Why are they ready to protest? And I was watching the courthouse, the live feeds this morning, and there's a dude just like egging on the other people. Like What do you mean out front? Yeah, out front. Like they're waiting for that shit. Both sides. I feel like.
Well, if he gets thrown in jail? Who's out there? Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna protest that?
No, I doubt.
Are they gonna have a white right wing riot? Probably not.
No, but I even with the riots, man, I think it's all bullshit. I think it's like it's
definitely bullshit. As soon as governors and mayors were like, no, it's their right to protest, and you knew that it was bullshit and nothing was gonna change.
Allowing it to happen.
Yeah, so if you're in power, right? You're in power. The system is fucked up. Guess what? You're part of the system. When has the people in the system ever been like, no, they're fine. They need to express how much they hate us. Like, what a stupid premise that.
Oh God, it's just so manufactured, man. So manufactured. I mean, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. And I don't know. I mean, keep checking my phone to see what's going on with this case, and I don't think they still haven't come to.
They're trying to get it dismissed.
Yeah.
Because the reason, basically, when we got in here, I was, oh shit, I just pulled my headphones out. I was reading. Can you believe that? And it was about the case, and what were they saying? Oh, so there's obviously footage of everything. This was my thing. They're like, oh, the trial, or the jury, this and that. And I'm like, there's footage of everything, of everybody getting shot. There's footage of it all.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we even debating about? Why don't we just watch the footage? Well, the prosecutors were withholding high definition footage, and they had given them shittier footage to watch. And then they had, quote unquote, enhanced one of the videos to show that Kyle had pulled the gun first or whatever before he had. But they're like, this
CGI.
is exactly. But they're like, this is not admissible in court because of the way that you guys changed it or whatever.
But they did use it in court.
Well, they said, I don't know, but I read they said something. They showed it, but then they said it wasn't admissible.
Well, I think I'm pretty sure they used it. Now they're talking about it now. Dude,
like reversing it.
Yeah, there's so much shit, man. Even the fucking guy pointing the gun at the fucking.
Yeah.
What is? Are you serious? Pointing the gun at at everyone.
I'm sure he was like, imagine this guy is wielding a gun like this at you, you know. So then, of course, he pulled his out. I'm sure that they was trying to do, but in the same respect, he just showed that he's an asshat and he has no idea how to handle a firearm. Here's even the thing with, if you want to go firearms, which everybody keeps bringing up. Oh, he brought it from another state. He did not.
Yeah,
and his dad lives. His dad lives in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He lives right over the border, 15 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't bring the gun across state lines. So, you know, that was a narrative that got put out there in the beginning, and obviously only certain outlets have retracted that, and the other ones are continuing that same narrative.
Dude, it's the craziest thing about this corporate media. They could just
say whatever they want. They just push a continued narrative. Even like CNN, that guy being on the stand under oath, saying one thing and then going right to CNN and saying the opposite. So now is his testimony no good? Did he lie under oath?
Yeah, I mean,
how come that's not even being looked at? How come nobody's scrutinizing, well, this kid is obviously either a lie, he either needs to be in contempt of court, or, you know what I mean? Why would he say that?
That's what I'm saying, man. The agenda is just it's just being exposed. Like,
yeah,
there is clearly some type of agenda in this country that's going on right now.
For sure.
I mean, it's wild. It's fucking wild.
They're trying to make us Venezuela.
It's scary, man. It's sad. I don't think, hopefully we're not going to go down that easily. I do think this whole economic, like Venezuela, dude, we're going to have some serious economic issues coming up.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really, I think, worse than the pandemic, personally.
I think we all need to start going to our local farms and, you know, butchers and everything else, because the supply chain's going to shit the bed.
Yeah.
It already is. Mm-hmm. All your big box stores don't have anything. We need to start supporting local farms and places like that, because listen, we're operating under an like a really bad system anyway, to be shipping our food all the way across the country. Mm-hmm. When was that ever a good idea in the first place? Why are we not all eating food that's close to us?
Yeah, I know.
Do I have Guatemalan avocados?
Yeah, I mean,
I get it in winter or whatever.
Well, it's also because the amount of consumption. It's just that we want, you know, not to always bring things back to psychedelic, but I've had something come to me the other day. It's like, it's just too easy. It's just too easy. Like the fact that you could just go at any time of night, drive up to a drive-through and get
100%.
Any type of food.
It's unrealistic. This is what I'm trying to say. Our whole system is set up like California, right? If there really is a drought, and I've heard they can pump water from under the ground or whatever at any point, but let's say you've set yourself, or Vegas, you've set yourself up in a desert. It's very easy for something to happen, and now all of a sudden you don't have access to water anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you just said that. My uncle said something about the amount of snow on the Sierra Nevada mountains. He just said this to me. He was telling me that he believes that California, and he's a pretty smart dude, that California should never be in drought just from that snow alone.
Well, supposedly there's I forget what it's called, but supposedly there's water under the ground everywhere. And it's super abundant, and that's why you have springs everywhere.
Like aquifers in California, yeah. Why wouldn't there be?
I forget what it's called. It's called like I can't remember.
What, the underground water?
It's something water, but it's like it's everywhere.
An aquifer.
No, but that's not what they call it.
Okay.
There's because I seen somebody poke a bunch of holes of, you know, they were having a meeting or whatever, and this guy was just like, you're a water expert and you don't know about such and such, which was basically groundwater really deep down. And he's like, it's everywhere. There should never be an issue with water anywhere. You know, you just have to be able to access it or whatever. And they're like, you guys are artificially creating this drought.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch like Naked and Afraid and stuff, they always dig, like, so not always, but a lot of times there's certain people that know how to dig to get to the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a little scary when you think about how, first of all, how fragile society is, how much of fucking pussies we all kind of have become.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm positive my grandparents, including my grandmother, knew a lot of shit just to survive because they had to. And a lot of that shit just got lost. A lot of that knowledge is lost. And, you know, when the supply chains break down, which they will.
And nobody knows how to do anything for themselves because we haven't had to for our whole lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I do have a lot of faith in humans, and I have faith that we will come together and we'll help each other out. But there's going to be a lot of people that are just, they're going to have a meltdown when Starbucks doesn't, you know, when I was coming home from Vegas, I went to Starbucks, right? And the line was so crazy, but I was there hours before, so I said, fuck it, I'll just wait in this line. Clint, the list of what they didn't have.
Oh, yeah.
And the meltdowns these people were having. Now, I'm just getting a black coffee, so I know I'm fine. Like, if they don't have black coffee, there's an issue here. But you got to see them. These people were fucking whatever kind of venti, mocha, chai, latte, whatever they didn't have, were freaking out. I felt bad for the two girls behind first of all, the line was so crazy. I was like, this is really, it was nuts just to see. But the amount
of at the airport, you said?
At the airport. So, and you know, so it gave me a little glimpse into what will happen when people are just they're so used to things. So when they can't get their Starbucks, when you can't get your whatever the fuck, your whatever.
Well, did we
you're
not
used
see
to.
that even during Sandy?
Yeah.
Hurricane Sandy?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't everybody start freaking out up here?
Yeah, they did.
I mean, I think people came together and then they started freaking out, or it was vice versa. But there was periods of people, you know, because a lot of shit was closed. People get into their daily habit, routine, and they like to eat this or that.
That's what I'm saying.
And then all of a sudden that's not there, and it's some big issue, you know? It's because the losing team never got spit on when they were kids.
Mark's, did you send anything to Mark?
No. He's
okay,
in.
let me tell him right now. Hold on.
He's waiting. Do you want to bring him in?
Oh, yeah. Let's bring him in.
All right. So we got a guest with us here.
There he is.
Just joining us. Let me take this down. All right. Oh, I got to send it.
There's that cool logo he's got.
Yeah,
man, but it's
Did
like...
he pop up on yours?
Yeah, I see him. It says connecting to audio.
I don't see him. I just see you.
Hold on, let me just text him real quick.
And it doesn't say I can pin him. You can see his video?
No, it just says Mark is connecting with audio.
Okay.
And it has his logo on my computer right now.
Oh, okay. I don't even have that at the moment,
But yeah, Clint, I think right there he is. I think the first thing that's going to happen is people are the stuff that's just easy, right? The shit that is just like we were talking about. Those people are going to freak the fuck out, right? Like when Instagram went down for a day, right? Those girls, like those people were flipping out. People that just live their lives on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, it's nice that you go to the store and you have a choice of 10 fucking paper towels or whatever. But when you're going to have only one, or maybe you're not going to have it, or whatever, and just maybe paper towels is a good example. Maybe a coffee, right? Maybe there'll be, there's 10 now, you got to only get one. Or maybe there'll be none. People are going to flip. I don't think us free thinkers and the people that know how to be in community, I think we will surprise ourselves, and we're so resilient that we will come back. But I think there's going to be a giant part of the population that just won't be able to deal with that.
Well, already just trying, when I talk to people about nutrition and stuff, just the thought of them changing their diet at all is like, ooh, you know, people freak out about that.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be rude. There's our buddy Mark. What's up, Mark? How you doing, brother?
Good. What's up, dudes?
Nice to see you. We're trying to something a little different. We were podcasting for a little bit, and we had you come in the middle. Something we actually were talking about that we want to try to do it. So why not try it with you? What's up, man? Everything cool?
Everything's good. Everything's all right. Glad to be here.
Awesome, and we're glad to have you. So we did do a show a week or two ago, and it seems like we might have lost the file. We were kind of just talking about current events and stuff, but we had a cool topic. If we could get into that in a little bit if you want.
Oh man,
we don't have to. We could just. But so anyway, what we're just
How ironic is it that our talk about Gnosticism was lost, considering
yeah, exactly.
that like Gnosticism was lost for thousands of years and then found in the desert in a clay pot and a scroll, and now we know all this stuff about Gnosticism. So hopefully, that episode will be found hundreds of years later on Clint's hard drive.
Yeah.
Doesn't look promising.
Oh man. Well, I mean, we definitely can get into all kinds of stuff, but you said you were talking about current events.
Yeah,
Yes,
we were
sir.
just talking about the Rittenhouse trial, whatever. I think it's totally manufactured. I think everything. I was just saying how from the judges, proud to be an American ringtone. Like, come on, in the middle of like it's basically the Fox News like theme song is like playing while he, it's just there's just so much stuff that I think it's too. It just looks too set up to me. Now, if he's found guilty, who knows? I don't know. It will just get people. It's just all this stuff to stir the pot. Everyone's focused on this thing, and we're talking about supply chain issues. How it's definitely going to be a problem. It's just just what's going on right now, in America, in the whole world. We're talking about when you take your guns away. Look at Australia. What do you think about any of that stuff?
I don't have any guns. I don't have any other way to protect myself other than my hands and my mind. So I just try to keep myself out of that reality as much as I can, on a mental level. It's not really like a sticking my head in the sand thing because I'm well aware of what's going on. But, what I'm going to do about it, so far, not much has changed in my life. But I'm taking things one day at a time. I think that's the best we can do, But I'm not really one for speculating on that kind of thing.
Well, that's interesting. I'm happy you said that because we were talking about how some people are just straight up ignorant, or they might pull back the curtain a little bit, right? And then they're like, I don't want to see that because they don't want to disrupt their little life. It's like you know what's going on because you're obviously well informed. You're in a giant conspiracy community, so you know what's going on. But it doesn't serve you, it sounds like, and that's cool. And I like that. That's like you know it's there, but it doesn't affect your like since the pandemic. Has your life changed much?
Yeah, a lot. But that's because I was somebody who didn't want to put up with that stuff, so I quit my job. And there was other factors like the fact that they stopped giving me and most of the drivers I was working with full-time hours and pushed us into part-time hours. That was the other reason why. But yeah, I was not gonna just go along with the laser temperature taking and the mask wearing and potentially down the road the vaccine and the all the different shots and tests and all that stuff. So I just quit, and I haven't had a normal job since. So yeah, it's definitely changed my life to a big degree.
Well, you could be on the doorstep of shot number 4.
Number 4?
I heard it on the news. They were like, number 4. And they're like, yeah, well, you got to, whatever. They had some stipulations. And I'm like, the fact that you guys are even talking about that is ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think this is another.
It's only been a year.
I think it's another thing that's getting away from them, though, because there are a lot of people that said, I played along. And now you're telling me to get more, fuck this. And that's
my point. Why are they up to?
Because
in another couple of months, you can do 4.
Because it was never gonna. Yeah, it was never gonna. That's why I think that so many people knew.
And I think we've had this conversation before, but yeah, the people that were like, "I'm just gonna get it to get it over with," and don't fully believe in it, are just like, "We'll just play along, get this over with, and then we can go back to normal life." And then they're like, "Fuck, now I got to do it again."
Yeah, because it is kind of crazy how a lot of us predicted that this was going to happen, right? We knew that the mandates were coming.
A merry-go-round of shots.
We knew that a mandate was coming. We knew that there was, thank God there's no vax passport yet, but to a degree there is, right? Like I haven't gone to any concerts.
New York.
Yeah, I haven't been to New York City because now I know there's ways around it, but I don't want to play in that. I don't want to play that game.
It kind of feels like being a Jew in Nazi Germany and hiding.
Well, yeah, some people get very offended by that. But you know what? It is. I get it. It's true. Nobody should be showing papers on their personal health or, it's nuts, man. It's fucking nuts. But you don't have to participate in it, and you know, I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know. We were also talking about how last night Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, and Tim Pool, Mike Malice all were together podcasting, almost like an emergency podcast in a van, and it was like, you know, we were saying earlier in the show that how Joe is finally like saying fuck this, because you know he was such a like not a victim, but they really used him on all the news with they tinted his face yellow. Like, I mean, that's so fucked up to say how he looked. And you know, and he was saying, like, could you imagine that people, like, because I guess he called Aaron Rodgers and gave him a bunch of you know, advice on how to beat COVID, and he's like, could you imagine that we live in a world that I call Clint and tell him how to like feel better if you got the flu, that he's the bad guy because he told him how to feel better, like
because
like, what the fuck?
Because
it's clown world, man.
I don't know why. Honestly, I was trying to come up with a good reason but I can't even understand what the fuck they're trying to do.
Did you see this SNL skit with Joe
Oh,
Rogan?
it was terrible.
Oh my god, such lazy. I mean,
it was in reference to something Joe said when he had Ari, Shane Gillis, and Mark Norman on the show, and they like basically just made him like, you know, he was like, and I can S my own D. That was like the big punchline, you know.
yeah.
It's pretty obvious that they're trying to take shots at that. Because Shane was involved, you know, SNL.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But also, you know, like you guys are pointing out, Joe's been very anti-mainstream narrative with this whole thing. And they are very much mainstream narrative, you know, the whole show, like with the dancing needles. Did you guys see that Colbert did that?
No.
Dancing.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was
That
nuts.
sounds gross.
It sounds to me like, or looks to me like they're getting more desperate and just pushing this narrative more and more and more in a very desperate way.
Which makes me really wonder the numbers of how many people actually took it. It really makes me wonder.
A lot of people I know who I thought would have not. So
Really?
that surprised me.
But there was a lot of people I know that I thought would not, and then they did.
Well, and I think I know some of the people that I think you're talking about, and I think it's because
No, not even guys you know. Like other people that I like rode with and stuff. But like local to New Jersey, I would say most of the riders I know from other states are not getting it. But
yeah, there you go. You travel, right? When you go riding,
Yeah.
you go to other states that are not, because this, you got to remember, our perspective here in New Jersey, Connecticut,
Very
and even
different.
California is so much different than ever. I mean, you know that more than
Yeah.
anybody by traveling.
yeah, we're definitely way further up this thing's ass than most people are. The rest of the country doesn't really.
Mark, what about in Connecticut? Are you guys pretty tight? Like with the laws? Like, do you guys pretty much follow New York laws like how New Jersey does? Because New Jersey's pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm sure it's equally as bad here. It's basically city by city though. So like Hartford, West Hartford, New Haven, you know, anywhere that's particularly more liberal usually is pretty strict. But like
I think
Fairfield's a big city in Connecticut. They don't have any mandates, any mask mandates, and that's because they're more of a Republican local government. So it just depends on what part of Connecticut you're in, because we have a lot of rural areas, a lot of rural people, despite having, you know, Greenwich, Hartford, New Haven, all these cities. You know, for the most part in the city, people are always wearing masks. Like even outside, it's just habitual. You know, people just go with the mandate here. But for the most part, like when I go to the grocery store, it's like me and like two other people who aren't wearing masks. That's it, you know.
Ironically, that's how South Carolina was. There was a lot of people wearing masks there. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
South Carolina, that's Colbert territory. He's from there. His sister is like the senator in South Carolina.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard that like South Carolina is one of those places that you know, but then you go to Florida. I have so many friends and family in Florida, and they said after maybe a week or two they played along, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Like they played along for that, you know, slow the spread like everyone was supposed to, and that was really it. And they said, yeah, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't, but for the most part, nothing changed. My friend has his kids in schools there, So there's nothing with, that's the only thing I see is with the schools. But other than that, in New Jersey, for the most part, at least where I am, actually I shouldn't say that. When you go to like a Whole Foods, I'm the only person without a mask on. But I think it also could go by like what place are you in, actual like what type of. It's such a fucking virtual. I never saw virtual signaling in my life like these fucking masks.
It's definitely a demographic that has more to do with class than race, in my opinion. Honestly, I think people who have some money and are comfortable and are conservative are not wearing the masks, but for the most part, everybody's wearing the mask. If you're above a certain pay level, it's like the blue collar people who are waking up like, this is ridiculous. They're already so I'm not an expert in sociology, so I always talk about this stuff with the wrong terms, but I definitely think that Connecticut is particularly bad because Massachusetts, highest income in the whole United States. And then on top of that, all the insurance companies are in Hartford. There's a whole bunch of insurance company headquarters in Hartford. And then there's, Yale University and all the medical stuff they do. And a bunch of huge hospitals in like Norwalk and Greenwich. And so it's definitely like a group of people who are more tied in, I'd say, normally to the medical industry than the average state.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, and New Jersey is, here in New Jersey, it's fun. It's weird because our politics are so Democrat, but it's just because the big cities, because for the most part, I mean, that's not true, I guess, because there are some towns that you go to that are super liberal, and but then if you go to like South Jersey or you go where all the farms are and everything too, it's not what people would think New Jersey is like, Yeah. When you go down to South Jersey, I mean,
It's
we
like
are the
Florida.
Gardens. Yeah.
It's that establishment money, There's like rich people in other states who they've made money through industry, but up here in this part of the country, the people who are wealthy for the most part are establishment wealthy. They go to the top tier schools. They're in the yacht clubs. They're in the all the things, and those folks are definitely in line with the agenda, whether because they're getting something out of it or because they're just sheeple by nature.
Yeah, I do think some people just follow because that's just what everyone around them is saying is the right things. I mean, it was gross to me to see how many people I saw on my Instagram feed posting, once the kids could get the shots, posting videos of their kids getting the shots. I'm just like...
I saw somebody post recently on my timeline. Oh, I don't know where they were at. I don't remember, but it was someplace they were getting a bunch of shots. And she's like, I just wanted to run around and hug every, kid with their parents getting shots, Of course I didn't, and then somebody else is like, yeah, my daughter's chomping at the bit to get it. She's 7. And I'm like, the fact that we've even the fact that they let Big Bird do that, right? They don't want to have
it's like an hour
flavored fucking vapes, right? Because it may appeal to kids. And then they got Big Bird being like, you should get this shot.
That's a good point. And all the medicines that they put flavoring in, but they don't want flavored vapes.
Yeah.
That's got to be tobacco money, man.
Yeah,
that's got to be tobacco money to pull, going against that. I don't, which is weird because that whole vape thing, right? Mm-hmm. But I see them in every gas station, like walls of them.
They're
now.
Still there. There was like this big to-do about getting rid of them, and they're not gone anywhere.
Well, I mean,
and they still have menthol cigarettes. So I don't understand what we were freaking out about.
And these poor guys that had these shops that were doing well, all of a sudden I remember them like going out of business and having to sell their flavorings and stuff. But yeah, now every gas station has walls of vapes. Now maybe it's something different than what. But it looks like there's all kinds of flavors. I don't know. It's not my thing.
I think they got rid of the reusable style and made it. Only what you're seeing is like the single use type of deal. Because my buddy who I used to do the podcast with, he would always, complain that like, oh, I would never live in Massachusetts. They made vape juice illegal. Like you can't even buy it there, And I'm like, dude, how is vape juice stopping you from living somewhere? I'm like, come on, dude. You could just drive across the border and get it. But yeah, it's I don't know how big tobacco plays into it, but I would say, with this whole thing, it's just an inversion of the truth, man. They're just inverting the truth. They're taking the truth that is our immune system and flipping it upside down. So we need to pay for an immune system. We need to they're going to destroy these people's immune systems to the point where they're going to have to evolve to depend on whatever, medicine they come out with. But it's all just to warp our immune system.
Well, they had said that
absolutely
a long time ago anyway, just with all the antibacterial hand soaps and like hand washes and all that, because we're supposed to be in contact with germs.
Oh, for
it's
sure.
good for, like your immune system's like any other function of the body. If you don't use it, then it gets weak.
Now they have an excuse to do that in overdrive. I mean, they literally have guys
exactly.
with backpack leaf blowers blowing hand sanitizer on Chinese people in China. Like,
oh my God.
Have you seen those videos?
Yes, I have. I've seen him in the plane.
That way
too.
you kill the good bacteria all over his entire body. So that way.
Oh my God, that's so bad.
So that's what we're entering into, a sanitized, hygienic, hypochondriac's dream apocalypse. And I think that it's as simple as just going outside, getting in nature, getting dirty. I mean, doing what Clint does, dirt biking through the woods, like that'll get some good bacteria in you.
I've inhaled more dirt than you could imagine.
Exactly. So I think, as bleak as it may seem, the more we realize the potential we have to escape this technocratic future, the faster their like illusion that they're creating crumbles. Because it's only appealing to kids because kids are so reaching for something because their parents are busy. Like look at our society where parents are so consumed with what they're doing that they give these iPads to the kids. This is the generation that's going to go head first into the whole metaverse, dependent on the medical industry for your health. So you just should stay inside, right? That's what they're pushing. They want us to have such a weakened immune system that we all become bubble boys and then we're just plugged right into the metaverse, right? So the easiest way to fight against that is to just go outside, stay wild, fight for, your right to, be free and go out and enjoy wild spaces because they're going to try to lock that down and lock down national parks. That's, if we want to get into something that we're afraid of, I'm more afraid of that, like the prospect that we're going to be, told one day that you can't travel because of climate change. Oh, you're not allowed to drive your vehicle into the, wherever you want anymore. You got to stay within a certain city limit because you're driving a battery powered car. And if you run out of battery, in the middle of the woods, you're fucked. No way of, you're walking. So I think that's the point that they're going to try to push it to, where people don't have the sovereignty to leave the city that their whole life revolves around. And the way that they get us more dependent on the cities is by crushing our ability to go outside and enjoy the outside, take a whole generation of people and make them really into the metaverse. But here's the bright side. So my generation, the generation who was kind of brought up right before all of this stuff kind of kicked off, we're more interested in conspiracies than any other generation has. And like all the people maybe from like 25 and up who are waking up to this stuff, like these are the people who are going to start to build that resistance. And then I think subsequently the metaverse and all that's going to have less appeal because we're going to have people putting out content like this on the podcasting realm and all the other ways that people wake others up from the, spell that is this like metaverse illusion, and getting people to think that their whole life needs to be plugged into the computer and plugged into authority. That's where the whole idea that hospitals are a place of healing comes from, is that you've been taught that there's this authority that knows how to take care of you in a very dangerous situation, and they come in a big white vehicle with flashy lights and scoop you up and save your life. And that's not true. Only for the past 50, 60 years that's been true. When my grandparents were kids, there was no such thing as an ambulance. There's no such thing as a hospital the way they are now. They had hospitals, but they're just totally they've imposed themselves on our way of living to the point where now people are born and die in a hospital. I mean, that to me is what we should all move away from. And so the sooner we move away from that, the less appeal all of these devices, like the metaverse is trying to pull us into, all these devices will have less appeal.
We need to get young boys out to get some real pussy, and then they'll never want to go back to the metaverse again.
That's true. Yes, that will help. All these anime types of characters.
Exactly.
I love all the dudes that listen to my podcast who like anime. I'm noticing there's a big group of them, and I'm wondering, like, how do I do that? Like, wake them up from the anime spell without offending them, because I think there's something weird going on with anime where it like you just said, like, it maybe if they just got laid, the world, you know, they could change their life for the better. Yeah. I think there's something deceptive going on there where like they get into it from an early age and it like warps them away from living a natural life, you know.
Well,
like,
it is an escape, right? I mean, it's a totally different type of like world they're participating in.
Right. That's what I mean. It's like weaponized escapism in entertainment. They create this whole subculture of people that they can then use towards their agenda. And who loves the metaverse more than people who are totally immersed already in like video games and that whole tech world?
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't become a thing where you have to get into it, you know. There's parts of it that are very exciting to me, but I don't think I'm going to participate. But like a virtual comedy club, that's really cool, or a virtual, you know, concert or something where you feel like you're right there. That's really cool. But I feel like once you get into it, like once you, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm never going to plug myself into the machine, put it that way. Once it becomes a permanent thing, I'm not doing it. And it's just like, I learned about transhumanism such a long time ago that it felt so sci-fi, and to see it starting to all really just, it's right there. It's really freaking me out. I'm not going to lie. When I learned about it, it seemed like this was, you know, I'll see this when maybe I'll never see this. And now it's like,
it's here,
man, it's here. Yeah, it's here. This whole metaverse thing is definitely a big step into that whole transhumanism.
It's no coincidence that it's coming up right after the whole 2 years that we've been through. I mean,
of course,
how they get us into it.
You know, we wanted to drop this, but right before, he was like, "Fuck, I missed it."
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this whole pandemic or whatever's going on here has been to prep us for a lot of things, right? For sure. You know, Mark, you were saying, I never thought about what you just said about how, because I'm always wondering what's up with these electric cars. You know, why the push for the electric car? And that's pretty interesting that you were saying that people, you know, you can't get that far with it. Obviously we have we could have technology that they probably could drive really far, but that's not how it's, you know, how it's going to be given to us.
I'm hoping that they have, you know, some sort of solar power, because then, you know, obviously you could theoretically go as long as you have the sun to charge your car. So as long as you don't get fucked on like a rainy week or something, you know, and a very cloudy weather, your car could just drive forever. But I don't think that they, you know, based on their current model of economics, I don't think there's any incentive for them to create a vehicle that runs
self-sufficient.
Like
no.
And
so
that's something I was thinking about while you guys were talking, is that imagine, it is pretty amazing how far we've come through technology, but imagine if it was used in a more harmonious way with the earth and energy fields and things like that, how far we really could be. But if it wasn't always just about a buck, I mean,
have you ever heard of the real reason for the alcohol prohibition in the early 1900s?
No, why?
So, you know, to your point, we could be running our vehicles on any number of combustible fluids. But the reason why cars have become specialized to only take gasoline is because obviously the big oil industry has a lot of influence. And, you know, there was a point in history And people still do this in like backwoods areas and stuff. People have engines that run on firewood.
Yes.
People have engines that run on corn. People have engines that run on all sorts of things. But they used to run alcohol through most engines, like pure,
Yes.
what we would call moonshine.
Mhm.
The purest form of alcohol. And that's why moonshining has become illegal, because
Really?
now people, have, obviously the technology is different. You can't just pour, 100% grain alcohol in your car and expect it to run. But with the right amount of tinkering and the right know-how, you can adapt an engine to do that. And that's why they made alcohol illegal just long enough for the inventors of the modern car to kind of figure out all the
Oh
patents
shit.
without the option of making an alcohol engine, right? So they basically made it illegal at the time when they were really like figuring out, oh, how are we going to build these, engines? So gasoline became the only cheapest option, whereas alcohol was the cheapest option until it became illegal. Obviously, now it's remembered for like the women's suffrage movement and all these other Christian women's groups who protested drunkenness, but that's not the truth. The truth is it was used as
I bet you'd have to like jet it.
I mean, that's what
It
they.
would probably be different.
What does that mean?
Like it's probably air to fuel ratio probably needs to be different or something. Alcohol versus gas. The tendency for alcohol to light is probably higher than like. I'm getting technical here, but octane is actually the resistance to burning.
Yeah, I saw your gears going. Did it make sense
well,
to
I
you?
was like, how
Does it
would
make
you
sense to
swap
you?
it? What's
I
the
know you're-
difference? You would need to know what way alcohol burns. Like I said, I think it probably burns hotter. So you would really only need to change probably very little bit of stuff to actually get it to run off it. And my dad said when he was in the Army, they had those big Army trucks, and it had a list of shit you could run it off of.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, it said like diesel, kerosene, something else. Yeah.
the diesel engines. You can make those tweaks more simply than you could with like a BMW. But yeah, I'm sure you're right, Clint. Like it's definitely not drastically different. The fuels.
The interesting thing is diesel, though, it just blows the stuff up solely off of compression. There is no spark. So you would think it would work better, and I don't know. A lot of variables. But yeah, it is interesting. I'm sure you could swap a lot of stuff. You know that in like South America, most of their cars run off of propane.
No shit.
Yeah. Like taxis and all that shit.
Really?
Yeah. Which is way cleaner.
Um,
And they last longer because it's cleaner and they don't get as hot.
So, I mean, and then this goes to also possibly with kind of is similar, right, to why marijuana was, or cannabis, right? It didn't have to do with the paper industry. I mean, and also just so many things that hemp was, was doing.
Plastic is
Plastic,
another,
yeah.
like
Paper
oil.
and metal.
Yeah.
Because remember Ford had the hemp,
I've seen that.
the hemp
video.
car, and he's
That's
just
so cr-
smashing
he's
it with a
smashing
hammer, and the fenders
light.
just stay. Yeah.
It's so crazy.
So they got rid of. Figure if you had paper and metal against hemp, you're shit out of luck at that point. Because what was it? Rockefeller, or who was the Carnegie was steel, and then whoever the paper guy was, I forget his name.
There's Hearst.
Hearst. So both gigantic, people in this country, and if they band together to get rid of something, guess what?
Especially that
You're
back
shit
then.
out of luck.
Now, what do you guys think about Elon Musk? Because as much as I don't know if I trust him, however, he's saying some fucking shit, man. He's saying some shit these days. Like, he's talking about how he's saying like you can end world. He's going right to the UN. We can end world hunger right now with this amount of money. He mentioned something about
Well, didn't
pedophiles.
they ask him?
I mean,
They asked him. They said, "Oh, Elon Musk could fix whatever with his this much money," and then he goes, "If you can give me a plausible way of why it will how we actually fix it with that much money, I'll sell Tesla right now and do it."
this guy's interesting. I don't. Pardon me. I don't. Yeah, that's.
I don't want
that's-
him to sell Tesla though. I'm sure you got enough money somewhere else, guy.
I
Settle
mean, he's the
down.
richest man in the world, so he's definitely.
Is he now?
Yeah.
Well, on paper.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but I don't know, something about that. Like I know this might sound crazy. When I heard him the first time on Rogan and I listened to it the first time, I was like, is this guy a real human? Is he AI? Is he? It just was odd, like the way.
Yeah, he talks and processes things.
It was interesting. I found it interesting. However, I don't know. I'm always just my head on a swivel, man, with everyone, and it's like this guy just seems like it's great that we have someone that is trying to come up with these solutions for all these issues. I don't know if you ever heard about his air conditioning system, which I thought of, like, I'm way too stupid, but he was talking about how he could, air conditioning systems are going to be so efficient, crazy, and then when they're done, all that extra water, all that water you get, how it's going to be the most pure
should be saved
drinking water possible. How it's going to be like a 2. And
well, what about the condensation now? Is that not already?
Well, he was going to make it so it's going to be the best for you from the condensation type thing. So you have 2 things happening, right? And it's like, it's amazing. However, I'm always just somebody that much power. It's like, I don't know if I can really trust them.
His intentions may be good. Again, it's like you said, with that much money and influence and stuff around you, I think it's easy to get pulled off track. Although he already has enough money that he doesn't really necessarily need to.
I think it gets something even crazier. It's not about money anymore. It can't be. Because some of these people have, unlimited resources.
So then you would imagine there's less chances of him being, like, hijacked, right?
Yeah, you would think that. But here's the thing, right? Like, I don't think electric cars really are much of a solution.
No.
I really
because
don't.
the batteries.
Yeah.
Batteries are super polluting, and they have to dig up big swaths of the land to get it out, to mine it.
Yeah, right. So that lithium right there.
Like you'd said before about us being more in tune with nature, and people say now, which I've said this for a while, but basically you kind of illustrated it, and people have said for a long time, like, we're the most advanced time in human history because we got this stupid piece of glass in our pocket that I can send you dick pictures, But wouldn't you think a more advanced society would be one that works in unison with Earth, and everything is like green? You're not polluting.
Yes.
You're finding a way to work with the systems that happen within nature, and then you build yourself up a nice, polite civilization where you have running water and bathrooms and electricity, but it's all clean.
You're pulling electricity out of the ether.
Yeah. And somebody was like, oh, we can do heart transplants. And I'm like, advanced society wouldn't need to all the time. You wouldn't have to fucking fix people constantly because they're eating poison,
Yeah, I mean, I heard something the other day that, like back pain wasn't even a thing until like the last 50 years. That people did not complain about back pain until recently.
Because
weren't sitting in chairs all the time.
Yeah.
That, but also I think, your body rebuilds itself with what you eat. So if you constantly for your entire life are feeding it junk, that's what it's rebuilding itself with. So why would you not deteriorate?
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, dude, if somebody, I don't know if it was, somebody just posted on Instagram a picture of, I know John Joseph did this a while ago. I love that dude. Hopefully someday we'll have him on the podcast or just even in the dojo. I heard he's a big comedy fan, a real down-to-earth guy. I know he's friends with Sam. But he posts a lot of vegan stuff, right? But it's not even that. He just posts a lot of stuff that's interesting. It's like just showing pictures, memes of what people looked like in the 70s at a beach or something.
Yeah.
And then look at a beach now. Or look at Disney World. You could even do it like Disney World's a great place to pictures from the 80s. Pictures now where everyone's in those fucking little jazzy, whatever the fuck they're called, koozie, whatever.
Yeah.
They're just driving around, but they don't really need them. But dude, it's like returning to fucking Wall-E. And it's like...
That's the whole sensitivity culture, too. It's like, oh, no, you can't make fun of people for being fat. They're just... Their body has, they're different... body type than you. It's like, no, that's bullshit. Like the reason why people think it's funny to make fun of fat people is because it's not normal, and that might be
offensive. It is now. That's the weird part. It is actually is normal now.
Well, and I don't want to offend anybody because I've been skinny my whole life, but my whole life I've noticed that, and I've thought to myself like, why do people wonder, to your point, Clint, why are people so seemingly confused as to the causes of this? Seems pretty damn simple. You're eating the wrong things and maybe eating way too much as well. Like I just had a conversation with my Sifu, the guy who taught me martial arts, and he was like, you know, one of the things that he's been doing lately is eating less and less. And the guy, works out 7 days a week. He trains martial arts with, other black belts 5 days a week. And he's telling me he only eats one meal a day. And, you're with the logic of like rebuilding. I think you're right. But at the same time, I think we're living in a way more stressed environment than ever before. And in general, people have this assumption of progress, which is totally false and inaccurate. They have this assumption that the further back you go in history, the more chaotic, disorganized, dark, deadly, and just overall insane things were. And that's not the case. For thousands of years, people have worked tirelessly to preserve what was lost before the cataclysm known as the Great Flood, which is recorded not just in the Bible but many different cultures across the world. So it's very clear that all the technology we have is A, reinvented from a previous time, and then B, brought here by possibly some sort of foreign entity like the aliens at Roswell, because we've seen since 1947 our ability to create new technologies exponentially increase like 5 times more than
since Roswell. Absolutely. What about time travel though, Mark? Do you ever think about maybe just, I've been really fucking with that a lot lately. Like what if it's possibly it's time travel? Maybe it wasn't aliens,
That's something Ari Aslin, we got to get him on this show. He was on my show. He was talking about how people from Mars, humans that live on Mars, are sending us technology from the future. But that's all speculation by nature. You can't speculate.
Yeah.
You can't, do anything but speculate until you have the technology to do it yourself. And then once you do it yourself, how do you even tell people, maybe there is no way. So I think logically time travel is interesting, but the point, I guess, the overall point was just that, like, we live in a society of people who think that we've reached progress to, the peak. Like we're always at the peak, and that's not the case at all. I think what's more true is that we're devolving, and we have to awaken from that and come back to a more harmonious relationship with nature. And I think they do that in other countries much better than we do. We're just told through our television matrix illusion that, America's the greatest and we do everything right. Meanwhile, our military is the greatest producer of pollution and trash in the whole world, and we're all over the place leaving, oil spills behind, and only the corporations get that kind of publicity. The military doesn't get publicity when they do a big oil spill and have a fuck up like that because it's top secret. So, imagine the BP oil spill times 5. That's potentially what we're dealing with what the military's done. So I think, the more control they have, the more they're just going to spend their money on controlling the whole world. And if they can get the Western culture across the whole world, they're going to do it. And folks like Elon Musk are a part of that. He's not some kind of dreamboat fantasy hero. He's the opposite of that. His parents are people who've made their money off of colonizing Africa and stealing the riches from that nation. So I really don't think that Elon Musk is going to have any solutions. If anything, he's just going to be a harbinger for the next problem.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Well, no, you said that perfectly, because that's what I'm thinking, man. That's exactly what I was thinking. And guys, this was a lot of fun. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. But this was awesome, Mark. Thank you for coming in and helping us out today. Appreciate that.
I'm glad I could be here and step in when some lame duck guests can't make it. But that's all right.
Wait till we go off air. I want to talk to you about that for a second. But this was awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Love you, Swarm. Thanks for listening, guys. Oh, also, another thing I was supposed to say in the beginning, if you made it this far, please give us a good review. It really helps with the podcast. We could really use that. Thanks, guys.